ready for some football. I don't know about you. Who else could it be but your man Lou? Yeah.
Who else could it be but me, your man, Louie T? Welcome to Monday Night Football Overtime. Ravens, Lions, what a ball game. I talked about this on the skill game earlier today, that this was going to be a massive early season matchup. We were going to find out a lot about these two teams tonight. Someone was going to get a statement win early in the season, and that team was the Detroit Lions, coming away with a 38-30 victory on the road at Baltimore. What a game for the Lions. And this is a statement for the Lions in particular, because for the Ravens, we know who they are. When this is all said and done, yep, they started 1-2. They'll be there come postseason time. They'll be in the mix. But we weren't sure about Detroit. After the week 1 loss, how sloppy it looked, how disjointed they looked with them losing both of their coordinators, there were questions. There were no answers. They come back, they beat up on the Bears, but no one respects the Bears yet. So that was one of those, that's cool, that's nice. I'm glad you were able to kind of restore order, so to speak, but are you really, truly still a contender? Tonight was the night for them to prove, I'm still a contender, bro. And that they did. I couldn't be more impressed with what the Lions put forth tonight. And maybe I'm going to make some outlandish statements tonight. Some of you may agree, some of you may not. But I'm going to say this. We're going to start with the Lions, because to the victors go the spoils. But I am going to say this too, and I'm going to pick up, I'm going to put a pin in this, and then we're going to pull that pin out, and we're going to start talking about it when we get to the Ravens. But this is why the Ravens will never win anything of note. Lamar Jackson was a baked potato tonight. He was soft when they needed him the most. He was a baked potato in the most crucial of moments in this football game. And it's why he can win MVP during the regular season. He can throw for all these touchdowns. He can throw for all these yards. But when his team needs him the most, he didn't step up. And I'm going to tell you why I feel this way a little bit later on. Put a pin in that. Let's start with the Detroit Lions. What an effing win for the Lions. They get to 2-1 on the season. And I think the NFC North still runs through Detroit after tonight's performance, because Green Bay had been, really impressive early in the season. They beat this Lions team when they were trying to figure things out in week 1. They got Washington. That was an impressive win at home. But then they go to Cleveland and lose. And not that the Browns are anything to scoff at. Don't let the 1-2 record fool you. The Browns play defense, some of the best defense in the National Football League, and they got. However, they had no business losing that game. Detroit is still the Don Dada in the NFC North, and this is, to me, further proof, because this was a tough environment to go into. The Ravens don't lose, as I've mentioned already, primetime games at home. You may be able to get them on the road in a primetime setting. It's just hard to get them at home in these types of environments in this game, because they play so well. They feed off the crowd of the energy of the crowd. And they went in there, and look, I know there were some guys out, Kyle Van Noy, Justin Madubuike, or Nnamdi Madubuike, excuse me. I know they had some guys out. There's no excuse for what happened tonight from a rushing standpoint. The Lions absolutely dictated to the Ravens how things were going to go. They had 2 90-plus yard drives, and both of them were keyed by the run. It's one thing if they're moving the football through the air, and you're having some issues matching up with some of the guys that can pose matchup problems for you, whether it's Jameson Williams or it's Amon-Ra St. Brown or it's Sam Laporta. You get it, right? They got a bunch of guys that are weapons. Also still have Gibbs out of the backfield, but they gashed them on the ground. They beat them up and battered and bruised them on the ground. They played grown man football with the Ravens. They punched them in the teeth, and the Ravens had no answer tonight. Even when they knew they knew the Lions were going to run the football, they still couldn't stop them. And that's a testament to what the Lions have built. Dan Campbell, a lot of people, they just try to dismiss him as if he's a meathead, right? He's this big, strong former tight end, and he's talking about biting off kneecaps. He'll probably never live that down, but he's a lot smarter than you think. And tonight, he proved once again that his balls are as big as anybody's in the entire National Football League. Because on that 4th and 2, I'm telling you right now, 25 to 30 other teams in the league are punting that 4th and 2. He went for it. And he knew that even if he converted, games wasn't done. The game wasn't over. Even if he converted. If the Ravens had all 3 of their timeouts, they could still get a stop. Now, that was a really deep pass completed by Jared Goff. We're going to get to him here in a second. But let's say they just got 5 yards. And then the next set of downs, the next 3 downs, they went backwards. And they had to punt. The Ravens would have still had plenty of time to go down the field and tie the game up. And John Harbaugh was going to go for 2 and to win. Like, this wasn't going to overtime. One way or another, someone was going to win in regulation. And to go for it there, like in those situations, you usually go for it if I convert this, I win the game, right? Stakes are high. But if you go for it and you convert and then you still don't win the game, that's a tough bitter pill to swallow in your head, knowing that I could go for this, I could get it, and I could still not win the game. The risk isn't worth the reward. You're cutting the field in half for them. You are literally at midfield. You're cutting the field in half and telling them you only got to go 50 yards with 3 timeouts to tie this game up, potentially take the lead if you go for 2 and you get it. So that was a really risky ordeal, but that's who Dan Campbell is. It's always who he's been. He's going to continue to be that. And the beauty of that is for players who have played for him, guys that come on board, they already know what they're signing up for. This is who we are. This is what we stand for. And you don't have to guess. You don't have to doubt, wonder, what are we going to do on 4th and 2? If it's 3rd and 5, you got 2 downs to get 5 yards, basically. It depends on where you are on the field, obviously. But you cross midfield, and it's 3rd and 5, you got 2 downs to pick up 5 yards. And that's a comforting feeling for an offense, knowing, hey, no worries. Let's get 3 here. It'll be 4th and 2, and we got a shot to pick it up on 4th down. The Lions were 3 of 3 on 4th down tonight. And that was the difference in the game. The Ravens were 0 for on 4th down. The Ravens struggled on 3rd downs, and the Lions were perfect on 4th down. That was the ball game tonight. They converted on 3rd downs. They converted on 4th downs. They ran the football over 200 yards of offense on the ground for the Lions tonight. I don't think the Ravens hit 100. This is not the Ravens defense that we're accustomed to seeing. And trust me when I tell you, Kyle Van Noy and Nnamdi Madubuike aren't going to stop them from running for 200 yards tonight. Maybe they don't run for 200. Maybe it's 180 because of Nnamdi Madubuike. I don't know. But what it's not going to be is a total shutdown. Those 2 guys aren't going to be the reason why the Lions didn't gash them tonight. They got gashed in the run game. That was shocking. Okay? Not sacking Jared Goff 1 time tonight. That was shocking. The whole basis for me picking the Ravens tonight was that they were going to get after Jared Goff. They were going to make him uncomfortable. They were going to force him into a mistake or 2. They were going to be able to slow the run game down. Maybe not shut it down, but slow it down enough to where Goff was going to feel the pressure and need to feel like, I got to put this on my shoulders and win the game for us. And that didn't happen. They controlled the clock. They controlled the pace. They did what they wanted to do, when they wanted to do it, how they wanted to do it. And the Ravens had no answer for what the Lions did tonight. This looked like the Lions of last year, the year before that as well. This looked like Ben Johnson was calling the plays. This is the same Lions football team. I questioned the defense going into this game. They weren't super impressive against Chicago. They definitely weren't impressive early against Green Bay. I didn't think they were terrible in that game, but they weren't impressive early against Green Bay. They weren't impressive to me against Chicago at all. Tonight, against a dynamic offense, against the 2-time league MVP, they were impressive defensively. You look, that's a hard offense to stop. They're going to get theirs. Lamar's going to get his. But to sack Lamar Jackson 7 times? to force him to fumble the football. He ultimately recovered it, but that's on a 4th down, folks. To punch the ball out for Derrick Henry, and now we got to talk about that. That's 3 fumbles in 3 straight games to start the season for Derrick Henry. We got to talk about that. But that's impressive by this Lions defense. We questioned their secondary, or no, not we. I questioned their secondary. I questioned whether they could corral and keep Lamar Jackson within the pocket and not allow him to get loose. I questioned if their secondary was good enough. They answered all of those questions that I had tonight. On the road, in a hostile environment, against a good football team. No, not good. A very good football team. This was impressive. This was super impressive. It's one of the best wins we've seen a team have this entire season. Matter of fact, I'll just go out on a limb and say it's the most impressive win anyone's gotten this season in the first 3 weeks of the NFL season and this young NFL season. It's the best win anybody's gotten because they had to go on the road on a primetime stage against a really good opponent and go get it. You saw Lamar's record on Monday Night Football. You saw touchdowns to interceptions. He's thrown a bunch of touchdowns. I think it was 22 coming into the game. Now it's 25. He threw 3 more tonight. No interceptions. He should have thrown an interception. Brian Branch dropped the one tonight, but hasn't thrown an interception. And he's been just outstanding. 6 rush touchdowns to go along with those 22, now 25 passing touchdowns. 7-2 record. I mean, he, over 280 yards per game on Monday night. He's been outstanding in situations. And my guess would be the 2 losses probably came on the road. Well, now he's got a loss at home. And that came courtesy of these Lions with Jared Goff. Let's talk about Jared Goff, okay? Because he was fan-effing-tastic tonight. And a lot of people like to dismiss Jared Goff because he's not mobile. He doesn't fit in the box of today's NFL quarterback. There was a play that kind of illustrated that when they had a chance to really put a dagger in the Ravens' heart in this game. He could have ran for a first down. I don't think he would have made it. Teddy Buchanan was right there. He would have had to run him, and we know Jared Goff's feet aren't that fast. I don't think he would have made it. I think he was probably like 3 yards short, and he probably would have been a yard or 2 short. They probably would have still gotten it had he just ran and tried to get it, but he tried to throw across his body to a wide open Khalif Raymond, but he couldn't get enough on it, and it skipped to him, and they had to punt. And it's situations like that where you go, well, he's not fill in the blank. He's not Lamar Jackson. He's not this guy, or he's not that guy, or somebody that with mobility that can pick up yards with his legs. But when he's in that pocket and he's protected, you will find very few that are more accurate than Jared Goff. That 4th down throw to Amon-Ra St. Brown to put this game essentially on ice is the most damning, or not damning, the most, it is the best proof of what he is as a quarterback and how accurate he can be and how deadly he is when he's on platform and able to deliver the football. The throw to Amon-Ra St. Brown for the touchdown was a thing of beauty. The throw to Amon-Ra St. Brown on the 4th down, that's a layered throw over a defender. Got to lay it out there. Can't put too much air on it because he won't get to it. You got to put enough air on it so that the defender can't get back into play. He dropped that thing in a bucket. There's a 3rd down throw where it's great coverage by Roquan Smith. And Sam Laporta, right, just zip, little dart, right, a dot right to Sam Laporta for the conversion. Jared Goff was unconscious tonight, and he needed to be. His team needed him to be, because for as good as they ran the football, he still had to make throws. And every time he had to make a throw, sans for that 1 3rd down where he tried to throw across his body, he made it. And it's why every time you see Dan Campbell in the locker room giving a locker room speech, he says, Jared Goff, you're good enough for Detroit. You're good enough for us. You're my effing quarterback. We love you because Jared Goff gets the shit done again. Now he's going to have to do it in the postseason, but this is a man that's made it to a Super Bowl. We ain't talking about Lamar Jackson here, who ain't never made it to a Super Bowl. We talking about a guy that's played in the Super Bowl before. He didn't play well, but that's besides the point. He's capable. This was a former #1 overall pick. People be sleeping on Jared Goff because he doesn't fit in that box of the prototypical new age quarterback who can do everything because he's more of a pocket passer. But you give him time. You protect him. You give him a run game like they did tonight. He is surgical. And he proved it again tonight. You won't find many that are more accurate than Jared Goff with that football in the pocket with his feet set, on platform, good base, good night. That was impressive. That two-headed monster of Gibbs and Montgomery, you won't find a better duo at the running back position in the entire National Football League. That was a thing of beauty watching those two go to work tonight. Montgomery was on his game. Gibbs, did what he did. 2 touchdowns for him. He's so dangerous. And then, you got to give Morton some love. Some of the play calls, the creativeness. You talk about Ben Johnson and all the creativeness. Well, he said, hey, hold on, wait a minute. I could be creative too, 4th down and goal. Well, no, not goal. 4th down and let's call it 1 from about the 5. And he goes to a handoff speed option to Amon-Ra St. Brown, who then pitches it to Jahmyr Gibbs, who runs it in for the touchdown. Like, the game's on the line, bro. And he's going into his bag of tricks. They do a double pass to Amon-Ra St. Brown for a gain of like 17 that felt like they were just flexing. At that point, like, bro, you didn't need to do that shit. It was a 17-yard gain. They just flexing at this point because they can. What are you going to do about it? Not a damn thing. The Lions are still the Lions. That's all I wanted to see tonight. Are you still the Lions? The answer is yes. It's a loud and overwhelming yes. The defense stepped up tonight. 7 sacks of Lamar Jackson. A big forced fumble by Aiden Hutchinson. Al-Quadin Muhammad was in fuego tonight. I mean, he was just everywhere, or as I like to say, ubiquitous. Derek Barnes with a great tackle on Lamar. He was about to break off for about a good 30, 40-yard run. Barnes with the tackle there. I think it's Derek Barnes. That might not be his first name, but Barnes, 55, linebacker. That's a hell of a play. Right time, right place for a lot of defenders for the Lions tonight. And just relentlessness on their part to not give up on plays. That punch out of Derrick Henry, that's big time. That changed the whole game because at that point, the Ravens have the football, down 4, with a chance to take the lead. Who knows what that drive is going to bring? The second half had been largely a struggle for the Ravens, but who knows what that drive is going to bring. And the first play of that drive, it's a punch out. That's big time. That defense stepped up tonight. They stepped up in the red zone. Ravens decided we gonna tap into our inner Dan Campbell. And not that John Harbaugh over the life of his career has been super conservative, because he's been one of those Mavericks too that'll go for it. But I think he felt the pressure of, hey, we know who we playing tonight. Field goals won't get it done. I need to go for it here. And that defense turned them away. That defense was really good tonight. The 30 points that show up on the scoreboard doesn't tell the story. That garbage time touchdown that they got, cool. Makes it look, a lot more palatable. 8-point loss, but That defense was really good tonight. That defense was really good tonight. So really impressive win. I say it's the most impressive win anyone's had this season through 3 weeks. To go on the road in that environment on a Monday night on that stage against that quarterback, that team, and to do what they did, that's impressive. Lions are 2-1, tied for first place in the NFC North, and I still think all roads in the NFC North run through Detroit. They reestablished who they are in the NFC pecking order. A lot of people question them. I was one of those people that say, hey, don't be so quick to jump to assumptions and conclusions after week 1 against Green Bay. We've been head faked and pump faked so many times in week 1. I can't even, count. So like don't jump to conclusions on Detroit after 1 week. I was adamant, very adamant about that. After 1 week. Don't do that to Detroit. Let's just see, right? Let's give it some time and see what they're about. They bounced back last week, but everybody, and I was guilty of this. It was Chicago. Like, it's cool. It's always good to bust somebody's ass, right? And reestablish, reassert yourself as a dominant team and give you that aura, that swagger, that bravado, right? To allow you to puff your chest out. It's always good to do that. But I was still like, yeah, it's Chicago. We're going to really find out next week against Baltimore. Nah, they still like that. They still one of the best teams in the NFC, if not the best team in the conference. So I think they reestablished who they are, what they stand for, and where they are in the pecking order of not just the NFC, but the league. Like, we're still one of the top 5 teams in the NFL. Don't get it twisted. Yeah, we lost our coordinators, but we're fine. We're good. We're good. That rebuilt offensive line, damn, they were so impressive tonight. Very few penalties. Leaned on that Ravens front all night long. All night long. All night. Oh, all night long. Night. Night. Leaned on their ass all night. Opened up these massive gaping holes. They had no answer for Montgomery in particular. None. It felt like he was getting 6, 7 a pop every time he touched it. Then he broke off the 72-yarder. I can't say that I've never seen a Ravens defense that wasn't good. Let's not act like the Ravens defense has been good for 20 years, but it's been a few years, like maybe the last 3-4 years, where they've been really stout. This wasn't that. Credit the Lions. Credit the Lions. Let's get to the Ravens. And I said something that I meant at the top of the show, which was Lamar Jackson in critical situations in tonight's game where he had to make critical decisions. He was soft as a baked potato. And this is why he struggles when the postseason hits. Because I feel like with Lamar, and I hate this. I hate the fact that I even have to have this conversation, because white quarterbacks don't have to have this conversation. They don't do this to themselves. Only black quarterbacks do this shit. I watched Donovan McNabb do it to himself. I watched Robert Griffin III throw his career away doing this shit to himself. And I think Lamar struggles with this from time to time, right? This need to prove yourself from the pocket. Right? You got a distinct advantage that Jared Goff would love to have, but he doesn't, because he wasn't blessed with the ability to do what you can do. But yet you want to reduce yourself to a pocket passer because I got to prove to people I can throw the football from the pocket. That's the only way they're going to respect me. Bro, you're a 2-time MVP. They know you can throw the ball from the pocket. Troy Aikman told us something that, I don't know about y'all. I don't want to speak for y'all. I'm going to speak for myself. I didn't know that Lamar Jackson had the highest passer rating in NFL history of every quarterback that qualifies. I didn't know that. Not that that means anything, but that's a big, accomplishment. Like, shit. That means you throw the football really well. So this need to constantly feel like you need to prove to people that I don't have to run to be Lamar. Like, F that shit. You know how many times he could have run tonight? And he's back there pussyfooting around, bouncing backwards, going sideways. And then by the time he realizes I should take off, now he's getting sacked. He did the same shit against the Eagles last year. He do the same shit in the playoffs, and he takes these stupid ass sacks, and then you wonder why they don't win in the postseason. It's the same shit. If he would just be decisive and say, you know what? I'm going to force them to respect my legs early in this game. And then if the threat of me taking off is going to force guys' eyes to not be where they're supposed to be, they're going to lose track of their luggage. And now I'm going to have wide open targets. But instead, he wants to stand back there bouncing around. And oh, I'm going to bounce backwards. I'm going to go forward. I'm going to go left. I'm going to go right. I'm going to hang in here. Now, oh shit, here they come. I probably should take off. Now it's a sack. Just run, bro. You're Lamar Jackson. Ain't nobody, I guarantee you, ain't a single guy on that defense faster than you. I promise you. I promise you. A gain of 5, a gain of 7, a gain of 12 is much better than a 5-yard sack, a 3-yard sack, a 7-yard sack, a 12-yard sack. I guarantee you, bro. And I'm not telling you to take off at the first side of trouble. I'm not telling you after you go through your first or your second read to take off. But he's back there building a house sometimes, looking around, searching, probing, back and forth, left and right. And I'm like, bro, go. What are you doing? Run. And by the time he decides, I should probably take off, it's too damn late. They done got to your ass now. His mom told him last year against Philadelphia, bro, what are you doing? You got to run. Like, this need, and again, I don't want to beat him up because this is a black quarterback complex, unfortunately. It's ingrained in your head that I got to prove that I can play from the pocket. I got to prove to everyone that I can throw the football. No, bro. You've already done that. Run. You've got an advantage that very few other quarterbacks in the league have. Run, bro. Run. The threat of you running is going to open up opportunities. All you got to do is run 2 or 3 times early in the game. I ain't telling you to run 8, 9, 10 times. 2 or 3 runs early in the game, they like, shit, Lamar getting out of here. Might even force the defensive coordinator to start applying a spy. That's going to take away one extra guy in coverage. Anything that you can do to alter the defense's mind or their game plan, you've won. And when you refuse to run, you allow them to do the shit that they do. You know how many times I watched him when they showed the replay and Lamar's over here bouncing back and forth, left and right, indecisive, trying to find somebody down the field. Nobody's open, or he doesn't like what he sees and he won't cut it loose. And they show all the green grass. Do you know how many times he could have ran for like 15, 25, 30 yards tonight? And he just refused to. And when he decided to take off, it was too late. It's that type of, like, you're playing a good team tonight. This ain't Cleveland like you played last week where you can get away with doing dumb shit and it's okay because it's Cleveland. When you make those type of mistakes against good teams, you generally lose. It's the reason why you've never made it to the Super Bowl. Because in the playoffs, everybody's good. You don't get away with mistakes, indecisiveness, sacks, turnovers. Those things come back to haunt you. Like, he's lucky Brian Branch didn't catch that pick. Like, that's a bad decision. What are you doing, bro? But in these type of games, sometimes Lamar, he clinches up. That sphincter gets tight. He didn't look comfortable tonight. I saw a lot of complaining, a lot of whiny face Lamar. He didn't look comfortable tonight. He didn't look comfortable at all. You want to be the best? You want to get to the apex? You want to be the guy? You want to hoist the Lombardi? You got to find a way to come out on top. And it seems like 7 times out of 10 in these games, Lamar always, well, I shouldn't say always. In 7 times out of 10 in these type of games, Lamar comes out on the short end of the stick. Whether it's Kansas City, whether it's Buffalo, which we already saw that movie and how it ended in the playoffs last year, and then again earlier this season, and and here tonight against Detroit. When you get into these situations against these type of opponents, whether it's Philadelphia last year, he always seems to come out short end of the stick. When it's Tennessee, when it's Cleveland, when it's Cincinnati, when it's the Commanders, he'll find a way to win. When it's the 49ers and they're not as good, he'll find a way to get it done. But when it's one of the upper echelons, the upper crust, as I like to call them, of the NFL, he seems to come out on the short end of the stick. And he's got to figure out why that is, because he's a huge part of it. The defense wasn't great tonight. They weren't great tonight. But if they make more plays on offense, they win this game. The defense did enough for them to win the game tonight. The offense didn't. They didn't get it enough. And that's partly in due to the defense just not getting enough stops. That one drive that was like 18 plays, 10 minutes, 98 yards or whatever, like that shit can't happen. That's what Detroit wants to do. Shorten this game, keep Lamar Jackson and that high-powered offense off the field, and lessen the amount of plays that they get. You can't allow that shit to happen. They let it happen twice, but at least the second one wasn't death by 1,000 cuts. That one was a 72-yard run on a 90-yard drive where they pretty much, killed them in like less than 3 minutes because of that big-ass run. But either way, the defense wasn't great, but it was good enough. The offense didn't do enough tonight. And we could sit here and go back and forth on them not getting enough opportunities. That's fair. They didn't get a lot of opportunities. But the opportunities that they did get, they didn't maximize them. They didn't maximize them. So, Derrick Henry, we got to talk about this too. Like, that's a real thing. It's 3 fumbles now in 3 weeks. And these are costly fumbles, bro. The fumble against Buffalo literally started the avalanche that was the comeback. Without that fumble, Buffalo doesn't come back and win the game. They had to have something go their way, and that fumble was it. He fumbled last week against Cleveland. He had an abysmal game last week. 11 carries, 23 yards. Like I told you guys in the skill game, he was a non-factor last week. Really, Cleveland's defense played well. It was their offense that was just putrid, and the Ravens dominated them defensively, forced turnovers, turned those turnovers into points. Tonight, Derrick Henry had one big run early in the game, and he was a non-factor yet again. And this isn't Derrick Henry slowing down. He's cooked, yada, yada, nah. I'm not subscribing to none of that. But the fumbling thing, I've seen this with a number of backs throughout my time as a fan watching this game very closely. You can get in your own head. This is a dude that doesn't fumble very often, and now all of a sudden he's fumbled 3 weeks in a row. And now I will say he had no idea Aiden Hutchinson was behind him. He had no clue that Aiden Hutchinson was behind him looking to poke that football free. So, credit to Aiden Hutchinson for not giving up on the play and retracing his steps and looking for the punch. He actively sought out that punch. That wasn't one of those situations where you go to make a tackle and your hand accidentally hits the ball. He went and he punched that hole out. But Derrick Henry, again, has to be stronger with the football, has to be aware of his surroundings. It's 3 weeks in a row he's fumbled. And 2 out of those 3 weeks, he was largely responsible to the loss for the Baltimore Ravens. Because, again, we don't know what was going to happen on that drive. Even if the Ravens go down the field and get 3 and cut it to a 1-score game, they're still in this game no matter what. Still in this game no matter what. But to not even have a shot now, to ask a defense that has been getting gashed all night, and if not for the holding penalty, or the face mask, excuse me, they were going to give up a touchdown there. The game was going to be over. They were going to give up a touchdown. They got lucky that there was a face mask penalty on one of the Lions offensive linemen that pretty much forced them to have to settle for that field goal attempt, which gave them life. Or else the game would have been over. They weren't getting a stop. He was beside himself. And I know he's going to put the blame on himself and he's going to be hard on himself, but you got to figure this shit out. Because you know what happens in this league now. You get a label, teams start, game planning to try to force you to fumble. You heard what the Pittsburgh Steelers defenders said about the Patriots. Oh, we came into the game knowing that these boys like to put it on the ground. We just had to help them. You know what the Steelers did? They forced 4 fumbles, 5 total turnovers. They forced 4 fumbles against the Patriots on Sunday, and they recovered all 4 of them, including 1 in the end zone. When the book is out, the book is out. Because there's times where guys aren't even thinking about going for the football. They're not consciously actively thinking about trying to get the football out. But if you got a fumbling issue, dudes are actively seeking punches out to try to get that football out of your hands. That's going to start to be a thing for Derrick Henry. Guys are going to be looking to punch it out. Whereas before they were just trying to worry about how do we get King Henry on the ground? He's such a big physical force. How do we get him on the ground? F that. How do I get to this football in his damn hands? This shit been coming out a lot lately. Can I punch this bitch out? Forget about tackling this big ass. Let me see if I can punch this bitch out of his hands. The Ravens never make it easy on themselves early in the season, that's for sure. They had an ugly loss to the Raiders. I believe it was last year. The ugly loss to Buffalo in come from behind fashion in week 1. This wasn't an ugly loss. This was to a quality opponent, but now you're 1-2. Now you're 1-2. Good thing for you is nobody in the division is great. You're the best team in the division. With no Joe Burrow, Cincinnati's going to struggle. Cleveland can't score, and the Steelers can't score, and their defense isn't very good this season either. So you're the best of the best. Despite being 1-2, you're still the best team in the AFC North. You can rest on that if you like, but that doesn't mean shit. If you can't beat the Detroits, the Buffaloes, you got Kansas City this week coming up. That's a big game. You're both 1-2. Somebody's going to get back to 500. Somebody's going to drop to 1-3. That's a massive game. Massive game. And neither of you are playing all that well right now. You're playing better than Kansas City is, and they don't run the football, so you really don't have to worry about Isaiah Pacheco or Kareem Hunt gashing you in a run game. So at least there's that you can take solace in. But you got to be better, man. And Lamar in this run game and the offense for that, man, the offense hasn't looked good in 2 weeks. It's almost like they haven't recovered from blowing the week 1 game against Buffalo. I don't know. I got my questions about this Ravens football team. They got to provide me with some answers because right now I'm not sure. I do know this. They're going to be, when it's all said and done, the dust settles, the smoke clears, as long as Lamar Jackson is healthy, they're going to be the best that the AFC North has to offer. That division isn't very good this year. It went from being one of the strongest divisions in football with no Joe Burrow, with Aaron Rodgers at the helm in Pittsburgh, and the Browns just searching for an answer at quarterback. There's no one else to challenge them in that division. It's not a great division at all. They're the best of the best. They're the best of the rest, I should say. But that's not going to help you when it comes to playing against teams like Kansas City, the Chargers. And I don't know if the Chargers are at that level yet or not, but it's not going to help you against the Eagles. It's not going to help you against the Lions and that upper crust of the NFL that I talk about. So they got to figure it out. They got to figure it out. But that was a tough one if you're the Ravens. And Lamar's got to find a way to start winning some of these games. to be honest with you. You can't just beat Cincinnati in these games and, Houston, who, all of a sudden can't find a way to score. You can't beat the Texans, and you can't beat, the Bengals in these games and think that you've arrived, right? Tampa Bay and teams like that. You can't. That's that second tier. That's not the upper crust. Those aren't the teams that you're seeing in the postseason that are giving you trouble. You got to find a way to beat the upper crust, and you're struggling against them. And tonight was one of those upper crust teams, a chance for you to make a statement early in the season, and you failed. And it wasn't just the offense, it wasn't just the defense. Hell, special teams wasn't great necessarily either. Your kicker didn't kick it in the landing zone one time. Like, you weren't great. And he almost missed a field goal as well. Like, yeah, get your shit together if you're Baltimore. Honestly. But I digress. Let's get to the skill game. We'll come back on the other side of the skill game and get to the comment section. But let's get to the skill game and see how your man did tonight with his picks on the Sleeper app. Skill game brought to you by Sleeper.
The skill game brought to you by Sleeper.
All right, so you want to talk about somebody pissed the hell off. Oh, my God. I'm so close. I love this app, first and foremost. Sleeper is a fantasy sports and real money gaming app that focuses on bringing people together through sports and gaming. Sleeper has become the fastest organically growing fantasy platform in the world with over 6 million active users. That was in 2023. We're now in 2025, and people like you and me and others have joined the Sleeper family. This app is where it's at, and I'm going to show you a little bit of why that is tonight. If you haven't already done so, do yourself a favor, download the app. The link is in the description of this and every single video that I do. Click that link. It's going to take you to where you can download the app. And if you haven't already downloaded, get it. If you have already downloaded it, you're ahead of the game. Use my promo code LTN, as you see down at the bottom of this screen, LTN, to get you 100% match on a deposit up to $100. That's right, a dollar for dollar match up to $100. You put in $15, I'm going to give you an additional $15. You put in $30, I'm going to give you an additional $30. You put in $50, I'm going to give you an additional $50. And if you put in $100, I'm going to give you an additional $100 to spend on the app. What more could you ask for? Doesn't take much for you to be able to win you some money. Turn every single day potentially into payday. Safest and fastest withdrawals in the game. What are you waiting on? Get the Sleeper app. Let me show you what I did tonight. You want to talk about somebody pissed off? I was on the shit tonight, man. I had it, bro. So, here's what I did. All right. Let's see. Let me put it back up here. See, is it stuck? It's stuck. Yeah, it's stuck. Let me reset it. Let me refresh it real quick. Give me 1 second. Y'all got to see this. I'm not letting this go because I am pissed. I am pissed. Y'all ever seen y'all been seeing a commercial with the because anytime you about to have an election, they pepper you with all of these damn commercials. I am speaking. Yo, that shit freaked me out every time I see that dumbass commercial. I am speaking. me and my kids be having a blast with that shit. I am speaking. Hey, that shit is wild, bro. I ain't even gonna hold you. But let me see if I can get this shit to work, man. Because I gotta show y'all this. You want to talk about somebody pissed off? Your man's is pissed off tonight. Because I did everything right. I did everything right. I did what I was supposed to do. And I got jerked around, man. I absolutely got jerked around. And I knew that it was a chance that I I was motivated tonight, and I wanted to come up here. I wanted to pop my shit, bro. I really did. I really wanted to come up here because somebody told me earlier, hey, this might not be for you, Louie. You suck at this. And I wanted to pop my shit tonight, and I was ready, bro, because this is for me. And I know ball, and I know I'm gonna kill it eventually. Like, look, if people were winning on this every single time, this wouldn't be good for the company, right? This wouldn't be good for these apps. This wouldn't be good for Vegas. This is it's fun, and I like this because it doesn't cost you a lot of money, right? If this was costing you, like, you go in there high stakes, you're spending, thousands of dollars, then I would be like, nah, I'm good, bro. This ain't for me. But it's 10, 15 bucks. Like, I can do this. So, and it's 10 to 15 bucks to win $300, to win $250, to win $170, to win $800, to win. I had a kicker bet that I put out there that was $1,100 and something dollars that I could have won over the weekend. And I'm going to do that every week. Here we go with this bullshit where it's not working. All right. I'm going to, I know I'm not giving up. Y'all got to see this. I'm pissed off. Y'all got to see this tonight. I'm not letting it go because I gotta explain I gotta explain this. I gotta my mindset, my rationale behind what happened tonight. Y'all gotta feel me on this one. I am not letting this shit go. So this shit gotta work. I'm gonna force this to work tonight. And if it don't, I'm gonna just tell y'all what my picks were, and we gonna go over this shit. I'm pissed off because I had this. I mapped it out beautifully, and I made a mistake too, because I second guessed myself. And I'm gonna start going with my 7th grade science teacher, who told me that usually your first answer is the right answer. Like, don't second guess yourself. If this is your first answer, it's usually the right answer. And I've been second guessing myself with this shit a lot lately, and it's been coming back to haunt me. And sometimes I let the multipliers like factor into my decision-making process, and I got to stop that shit. Because it don't be like, it'd be negligible. It'd be like 1.64, and then I'll be like, well, this one's 1.83, so I'm gonna take this one instead. And that shit's tougher, right? You got to just go with the joint that is gonna give you the best chance to get the win. And for instance, initially I was like, anytime Gibbs touchdown, like, this dude scores almost every single game. So just take the Gibbs. And remember, the first 2 things I clicked on were Gibbs anytime touchdown and Derrick Henry anytime touchdown. And I was like, I changed the Derrick Henry touchdown to a rushing touchdown because I'm like, he's not catching the ball. Like, he might score on a screen, but they don't throw him the ball. They throw it to Justice Hill out of the backfield if they're gonna throw the ball. So I'm like, they're not throwing the ball to Derrick Henry. He's not catching the football out of the backfield. So I was like, I'm not gonna get hurt by this. So all right, it's not working. So we'll just go with this. We'll go with this setup instead. And I'll just tell you what I did tonight. So, all right. So here were my picks tonight. I had Lamar Jackson for 25 or more rush yards. And the number they were trying to get me to do was 40. And I was like, yeah, I wasn't thinking about the black quarterback complex thing kicking into high gear tonight. I just figured Lamar would be able to throw the ball because I didn't feel like Detroit's pass rush was going to be all that prudent. So I was like, he shouldn't have to run a ton. There might be a couple of design runs in there, but they're scaling back the amount of design runs for Lamar. And unless he has a big one, I don't know if he'll get to 40. So I dialed it back to 25. That was a bitch-made move, but it worked out in my favor because he only had 35 rush yards tonight. And the number was set at 40 and a half. And I said, nope, I'm good on 40 and a half, but give me 25. And he got 35. So I got that one right. Check. So then I said, Amon-Ra St. Brown, 1 receiving touchdown, because I know Jared Goff, when they get down there, he's looking for his guy. He had 3 receiving touchdowns last week against Chicago. And when they get down there close to he's looking for his guy, Amon-Ra St. Brown. So I said, give me Amon-Ra St. Brown for 1 touchdown, right? They set it at a half a touchdown. I said, give me one. Give me one. So I took more. He had 1 touchdown tonight. Check. All right. So then I told y'all earlier on the skill game, I said, look, I got to live here in the receiver department, the catches, right? The receptions. I said, this is where I'm going to live today. This is where I'm going to be able to eat in this game because I think both teams are going to throw the football, right? I did not expect Detroit to be able to run the football as effectively as they did. But that didn't hurt me, right? It didn't hurt me, but it almost did because the Ravens couldn't get the Lions into 3rd and 6, 3rd and 7, 3rd and 5 even. It was always 3rd and 4, 3rd and 3, 3rd and 2, 3rd and 1. Because they could never get them in the 3rd and long, I never really got Jahmyr Gibbs in the second half to be a receiver. He was either pass protecting or he's out of the game altogether because they were running the ball with Montgomery. And when they did have Gibbs in the game, they were just handing it to him because the Ravens couldn't stop the run. So this man I had Gibbs at 4.5 receptions. I was confident that the Ravens were going to apply pressure on Jared Goff. He was going to be looking for his outlet. Gibbs was going to be the guy they were going to try to get it to. If they got too aggressive, the Ravens got too aggressive with their blitzes. I thought that Morton would say, okay, I'm going to calm your ass down with a screen to Gibbs a couple of times. That'll cool your ass off. And so first half, Gibbs had 4 catches. I was like, he just needs 1 catch. Bro didn't get another catch until literally the final drive of the second to last drive of the game. And it was the last drive of the game, matter of fact. And it only happened because of that stupid ass face mask penalty. No, so it was the second to last drive. Only because of that stupid ass face mask penalty. Or else he would not have caught another pass in the game. And I would have been pissed off. But because they got back in the 2nd and 22, they tried to run it. I'm glad the Ravens finally stood up and stood on business. They got to 3rd and 20. And then they tried the little swing pass to Gibbs to see if he can break something, and he didn't. But I didn't care about what he got. I just cared about the catch. That got me to 5 catches. So I hit the more on that. Bam, I got that. Rashad Bateman, 2.5 catches. I thought that was easy money. I was like, ain't no way Lamar's going to go through this game where they're going to have to score points against a high-powered Lions offense. There's no way he's going to go through an entire game, and Rashad Bateman isn't going to have 3 catches. He had 5 catches tonight. So I got that one out of the way. I said, Derrick Henry, anytime touchdown initially. Remember, him and Gibbs, if you watch the skill game, I had him and Gibbs right away. I went to the hot category, right? And the hot category gives you the ones that people are betting on the most. And I scrolled down, and the first thing that was there was Gibbs anytime, Derrick Henry anytime. I said, okay, I like both of these. Boop, boop. Both of them are scoring touchdowns tonight. And then as I went through, I said, Henry on rushing touchdown, is that more of a multiplier than anytime? Because he's not catching the touchdown. Gibbs can catch or run for a touchdown. So you got to leave him at any time. Derrick Henry isn't catching the football and running for a touchdown. He's going to run for a touchdown. If he scores, it's going to be rushing. So I saw that the rushing was higher of a multiplier. So I was like, what am I doing here? Just make it a rushing touchdown. So I changed Derrick Henry to a rushing touchdown. He took care of that for me in the first quarter. Said, bro, you ain't got to worry about me. I was kicking myself because I initially had Gibbs anytime touchdown. And I switched it to 4.5 catches because I said Goff is going to be under duress tonight. And he's going to throw the ball to Gibbs like he did in week 1 against Green Bay when he was under duress, when he had like 9 catches. I said he's going to throw it to him a bunch tonight. So that was a higher multiplier, and I allowed that to dictate what I did. And it almost cost me in that regard because he scored twice tonight. And I knew he was going to score. He scored on the first possession. And so I was kicking myself, but he ended up getting the 5th reception, so it wasn't a big deal. And then there's DeAndre mother effing Hopkins with the worst shoulder pads and jersey I've ever seen in my life. I wanted to kick him and Lamar right in their damn Adam's apple tonight. They were not on the same page because he threw it to him 3 times. And, you know, DeAndre is good for a little back shoulder. He threw it to him in the end zone. They got a pass interference down to a 1. I don't give a shit about a pass interference. I don't care about y'all being off. I need a catch. They had 1 catch early in the game. I'm like, oh, shit. I wasn't expecting an early catch. I was expecting these catches to come late. I got an early catch in the game. First half, I'm like, shit, I just need one more catch. Just need one catch. I couldn't get another DeAndre Hopkins catch. I'm begging for this man to be in the lineup. There's Tylan Wallace. Get Tylan Wallace's ass out of the mother effing game. Put DeAndre Hopkins in the goddamn game. I'm begging for this man to be in. Tylan Wallace. F Tylan Wallace. Put DeAndre Hopkins in the game. Throw him a goddamn back shoulder fade so I can get my other catch. It never happened. All I needed was 2 catches. He had 1 catch. Oh, man. $357 right there in my grasp. And I played this beautifully. I did it, y'all. And they robbed me. And then on that last drive, when David Montgomery scored the touchdown, I said, oh, shit. That might work in my favor because initially when they hit the Amon-Ra St. Brown 4th down play, I was like, oh, well, I'm cooked. That's it. I lost. They're going to end up kneeling this puppy out. They're going to, Ravens are going to use their 3 timeouts. And they're going to get another, because they can't stop them on the ground. They're going to get another first down, and this game's going to be over, and they're going to kneel it out. So I'm done. And then he runs for the touchdown. I'm like, oh, shit, I got life. Oh, yeah. I got excited all over again. I went from despair down in the dumps to, oh, shit, we got life. And they wouldn't put him in the game. Then they finally put him in the game. And I'm like, Lamar he was looking his way. And I'm like, Lamar, cut the shit loose. And then he turns it down and he runs the other way. And then they took him out of the game. Then Andrews catches the ball. I don't know what the hell the Lions were doing. Like, what are we playing? 30 yards off? He catches the ball, runs into, like, what are you doing? All they had to do was tackle him at like the 8. They would have put DeAndre back in the game, and they would have probably thrown him a back shoulder fade. Like, what are you doing, Detroit? God, what are you doing? Anyway, I digress. I fell 1 short. I'm close. I'm on it, man. I was on it tonight. I had it figured out. I mapped it out beautifully. Everything fell in my favor except DeAndre Hopkins with 2 effing catches. But you know what? I'm not going to fret. I'm getting close. And this is what I know. I know me. I'm a dangerous man because I know ball. I watch too much of this shit. And what did I tell y'all if you watched the skill game, what did I tell y'all? This ain't the night for the field goal kickers. You know I love a good field goal kicker. I didn't have a single field goal kicker in. You know why? Because I said, Dan Campbell, go for the shit on 4th down. And John Harbaugh is aggressive, and he's going to match his energy tonight. He's not kicking field goals with Tyler Loop. Don't ask me to get these kickers on some kick points. Now, like, this ain't the night for kick points. What the score end up being? 38. So that's 5 touchdowns and a field goal, I believe, for Detroit. How many Goff had? Yeah, 1 touchdown. How many rushing touchdowns these boys have? Let me check and see. See if my math is correct. Yeah, 4 touchdowns, five touchdowns, and an extra. So he made all these extra points. He made a field goal. So he was at 7.5 kick points. So he got to 8. I didn't foresee 38 points being scored. So I wasn't on board with that shit. But they had the kicker for the Lions at 7.5. They had both kickers at 7.5. I was like, I ain't doing that shit. And so I stayed away from that. But I had it mapped out beautifully. And I just fell short. I'm getting close. I think I'm going to get hot again. I'm finna get hot again, bro. I just needed 1 catch for DeAndre Hopkins. Just 1 catch. 1 more catch. Lamar was so ass tonight in that regard. Like, cutting it loose, being decisive. He was ass. You look at his numbers, 21 and 27 for 288 and 3 touchdowns. He was great when he finally decided to cut it loose or but he took 7 sacks. And I say took 7 sacks because at least 5 of them were because he was indecisive, where he just couldn't make up his mind if he wanted to throw it or run it, and they finally got to him. That was on him. If he'd have just taken off and run, he would have, I guarantee you, he probably would have only been sacked once or twice a night. If that. But That's what you get for relying on a 36-year-old receiver who barely plays. That's what you get, and I got. Shout out to Sleeper for sponsoring this stream. Once again, download the app, use the promo code LTN to get you a 100% match on a deposit up to $100. Man, that was a lot of fun tonight. I might sound like I'm bitter and I'm upset because I am disappointed, but that was a lot of fun. It added more suspense to the game for me. Because I didn't have anything else on the line, right? That was a lot of fun. Anyway, I digress. Shout out to Sleeper. So let's get to the comment section and then we'll get out of here. I won't hold you hostage. I've talked long enough. Brandon McCloskey, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB, who writes, this may be petty, but I hate that we weren't included in the special teams montage at the end of the game. Constantly disrespected by the media. That is very petty, Brandon. Can I let you in on a little secret? I was hoping that we were included on that. But this is the thing. This wasn't a montage for returns. It was only a montage for block kicks. A return takes too long. You see, you got to think about it from the production side of it. And I think about it from both sides because I'm in the production field because of what I do. And then I think about it from your side as a consumer, which is my side as well, because I play both sides. So from the consumer side, I wanted us to be in that shit too. But we weren't the only one with a punt return. The Seahawks had a 90-something yard return from their rookie, Torrey Horton. And they didn't include any returns in that. It was just block kicks. There were so many block kicks this weekend that's all they really focused on. Block kicks and made field goals to win games, which there were like 2 of those. And then there were like 3 block kicks at the end of games. So you had the Bucks walk-off field goal. You had the 49ers walk-off field goal. You had the block at the end of the Bucks game that set the Jets up. You had the block at the end of the Eagles game. So and then there was a block in the Browns game, right? And then they had a walk-off field goal, the Browns, right? So they focused on that. And I get it because those are quick, right? Boom, field goal, good, move on to the next field goal. Like a 90-yard punt return takes up what would be 3 field goals that they could show. So I secretly wanted us in there too, but I get why we weren't in there. It's not necessary. It's not a disrespect thing. It's just time. It's all time permitted. So I get it. Doug H, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB. My guy Doug writes, my guy, should have listened to you about them kickers before I made my parlay. I put both, and that cost me my money tonight. Great game otherwise. Doug, you got to watch the skill game, bro. I'm telling you, I'm dropping gems on your melon. I may not always make the right selections myself, but I'm going to give you the game, bro. I'll be second guessing the shit out of myself. And that's how I got a lot of times. But I'm giving you the game, bro. This was not the game to mess around with none of the kickers because you got to know who you're dealing with, right? That's why I do the skill game. Not only for myself, but for y'all too, right? No worries, Doug. We're going to get this money together, Doug. We're going to get this money together, man. Don't worry. Video channel. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB, who writes, Lou. What's up, video channel? Lions defense put Lamar on ice in that late third and in the fourth. Need more quick hitting routes and Derrick Henry going out like Lightning McQueen. I love the Lightning McQueen reference. I love it. He's not going out like Lightning McQueen, but I can see why you would say that. I love it. But so the oldest of the twins, he loves Lightning McQueen. I've watched Lightning McQueen because of the kids. The oldest son, and then the older of the 2 twins, or of the twins, they love Lightning McQueen. And I've watched every Lightning McQueen, all 3 of them, 50 million times. And so I know exactly what you're referring to. But I did feel like they got in the way with Lamar tonight. It felt a lot like the game plan we saw for Jaden on Thursday Night Football against Green Bay, where everything was so deep down the field that it didn't give him answers. But You also got to credit Detroit's defense. You know, he had time. Unlike Jaden, who didn't have time, Lamar had time tonight. These weren't sacks within the first 3 seconds. He was under pressure and he's running for his life. Lamar was back there 5 and 6 seconds, dancing around, back and forth, left and right, and the guys just weren't getting open. So you got to credit Detroit for that. But I think you're right about they needed more quick hitters, which is why I thought DeAndre Hopkins would catch a ball, and it just didn't happen, bro. It did not happen. Fresh Montana, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Fresh Montana writes, Lou, salute. Thanks to our squad, Washington Commanders, I turned 20 into 300 on Sleeper. Shout out to you, Fresh Montana. I love it. I love it. Hopefully you use my promo code. I took Terry's yards, Bill's touchdown, J-Max yards, and Thornton's yards. You think 5 players versus Atlanta? Shout out to Gabe. I'm gonna have a skill game for that game, for all the primetime games. Every week, I'm gonna do the skill game. So for a Commanders game and for all the primetime games. So I'll tell you what I think. So it's going to be – I'm about to start hitting, man, because I was close on the Commanders game. I had the right idea. The execution just didn't go down the way I envisioned it, but I had the right idea. So I'm going to figure it out. I got the formula. Now it's just about the execution. I got the formula. It's just about the execution. So we're gonna get this money fresh. So I love that you turned 20 into 300. I thought I was going to turn 15 into 350 tonight. This close, but it's coming. No worries. It's coming, bro. It's coming. Anyway, that is going to do it for me. That was the last comment tonight. Your man, Louie T. I do want to say this. If you're a Commanders fan, this is like the Lions. We're not on the Lions level. Like, this was one of those games that proved they're still light years. Not light years. That's a bit much. And I know we beat them in the playoffs last year. They're healthy now. We beat a wounded Lions. I don't care about any of that. But what I'm telling you is they're built for this, right? They went on the road against a tough Ravens team, and they proved that they are about that life. We went on the road against a tough opponent, and again, it wasn't a Monday night game. It wasn't Sunday night. It wasn't where we had a full week of preparation. It was Thursday night. So that's probably not fair to us. But Detroit has proven time and time again, whether it's Kansas City on a Thursday, or it's Baltimore on a Monday, or it's Green Bay, or it's some other team on a Sunday, they've proven time and time again that they're ready for these type of environments and these type of moments. And we haven't yet. We haven't beaten a team like Baltimore that we feel like is probably better than us. We haven't gone to that extreme yet. Now, again, we did it in the playoffs last year. I'm talking about regular season, right? We caught them right place, right time. We were hot. They were not. And we got them, right? But I'm talking about in the regular season, as we're trying to establish who we are and we're trying to make a name for ourselves, we got to start finding a way to win games like this, like Detroit won tonight. And we haven't done that yet. We'll beat Atlanta this coming weekend. We'll beat the Vegas Raiders of the world. We got Kansas City, and we got Detroit, and we got the Chargers. We got some good teams on the schedule. We got to prove this year that we are capable of beating those types of teams in the regular season, whether it's on the road or it's at home, whatever the case may be. We got to start winning these type of games. That's what I took from tonight's game, is that Detroit is still the best team, one of the best teams, along with Philadelphia, in the conference. We are not at that level yet. We got to start winning some of these games to prove that we are at that level. And we're going to get our opportunity starting. We got to take care of Atlanta. We got to take care of business. Continue to do the thing that you have to do if you want to be in that conversation. And that's beat the teams that you're better than. We're better than Atlanta. So we need to beat them. But then you're going to go on the road to Los Angeles. And whether they are 4-0, which I think they're going to be because they're playing the Giants this week, whether they're 4-0 and they're undefeated and they're going to be favored in that game over us, or they're 3-1 and somehow they slip up against the Giants, which I don't see happening. They're going to be undefeated. They're going to be 4-0. They're going to be favored. They're better than us. Technically, they're better than us. We got to go there, and we got to prove that we're capable of knocking off an undefeated team in their building and showing that we're up to that type of task. And if we can do that, it's gonna cast a new light on us as a football team. We got to start winning some of those games. Got to take care of Atlanta first. Can't look past the Atlanta Falcons. They're pissed off. They had a rough showing. They're looking to get some get back, right? They haven't beaten us in like 4 years. Every year we play Atlanta. Every year we beat Atlanta. So they're looking for some get back. They're going through a lot of changes. They just fired their wide receivers coach. They told their offensive coordinator, you can't sit in the box anymore. You got to come down and be on the field, right? They're going through all these changes. They benched their quarterback. He's going to be starting this week, but they're going through a lot. Everybody's thinking that, oh, okay, they're struggling. We got to make sure that they stay struggling and not that they have a bounce back game against us. But that's another conversation for another day. Anyway, I digress. That's going to do it for me, your man, Louie T. Shout out to the Detroit Lions for getting it done, running their record to 2-1 on the season with this gutsy, ballsy 38-30 victory on the road at Baltimore. The score, I don't want to say it doesn't do it justice. This was a close game throughout, but they were up at one point 38-24 in this game. The Lions went for it on fourth down 3 times, converted all 3 of them, and that proved to be the difference in this game as they converted those fourth downs into touchdowns eventually. They were phenomenal tonight. Dan Campbell, I love his philosophy. I love his mental approach and not backing down. I loved it even in the NFC Championship game when a lot of people thought it cost him the game. I loved his approach. He said, we're going to be who we are and we're not going to back down. And I loved it then and I love it now. And it continues to be the hallmark of who the Detroit Lions are. They get the win 38-30 over the Ravens, run their record to 2-1, get a piece of first place in the NFC North with the Packers' loss on Sunday to the Browns. Meanwhile, the Ravens are now 1-2 on the season. And again, I got questions about this team in these types of games and these types of moments. But they got a big one. They got a massive matchup and showdown now with the Chiefs, who are also 1-2. Somebody's going to be 1-3. One of the perennial powerhouses in the AFC after 4 weeks is going to be 1-3 on the season. If you're Baltimore, you can't afford for it to be you. I think the Chiefs need it more than Baltimore does because I already told you, no matter what happens with Baltimore, they're the best team in their division. The Browns aren't better than them. The Steelers aren't better than them. And the Bengals without Joe Burrow aren't better than them. And Joe Burrow, there's a question as to whether he'll even come back this year. It only matters is if they're in the race still. If they're not, Burrow's not coming back because he's not eligible to come back until at the earliest December. They could be well out of it. You saw what happened to him on the road against Minnesota on Sunday. They could easily, be 4-9 by the time he's eligible to come back. At that point, there's no reason for him to come back, right? So, we'll see what happens. Baltimore is the best team in that division. Meanwhile, for Kansas City, you got the Chargers at 3-0. You got the Broncos at 1-2, but they could easily be 3-0. And, so the Raiders stink, but they know, unlike the Ravens, who could still win the division at like 10-7 when it's all said and done. They could win. The Chargers are going to win 12 games this year, more likely than not. They're already 3-0. They already got 3 wins over every team a win over every team in the division. The Chargers are probably going to win, 11, 12 games this year. If you're the Kansas City, you can't afford to fall to 1-3. Ravens probably can and still win the division. Chiefs cannot. But that doesn't matter if you're a Ravens fan. I don't want to hear the shit. I'm trying to get this dub and get back to 500. But this is a tough one. You had every opportunity to win this game. Your defense let you down. Your offense let you down. You were not sharp in this game, not sharp enough at least. And you lose to a good Detroit Lions football team. This was a fun game. It was an early season statement by the Lions. And that message was received by people like myself and you all out there who watched this game and saw Detroit go in there and take it to them physically, something that we don't see road teams do to the Ravens in this type of environment very often. They took it to the Ravens physically, beat them up in the trenches. That's not something we're accustomed to seeing happen to the Ravens. They rushed for over 200 yards and they sacked Lamar Jackson 7 times. Conversely, the Ravens rushed for less than 100 yards, and they didn't sack Jared Goff not one single time in this game. Credit to the Lions for beating up the Ravens in the trenches and beating them really at their own game. That's going to do it for me, your man Louie T. Once again, shout out to Sleeper for sponsoring this stream. I'll see you guys next time. Have a good one. God bless, and good night.